Very good. It's 2:30, so thank everybody for attending the Liquor Control Committee for today. We have a few items on the agenda. Agenda item number 1 is to approve the minutes of the February 15th, 2023 regular meeting. We have the notes in front of us, but if there are any changes or corrections, please let us know, and we will accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 2, 2A is Chur Bierston. I apologize for, hopefully I pronounced it correctly. LLC doing business as 19th Hole at Rose Creek to be located at 1500 Rose Creek Parkway. Class FA Golf, transfer from Living the Dream, doing business as Legends. Steve.
Thank you, Commissioner. So Legends let the Park District know that they were no longer going to operate at the Rose Creek Golf Course. And so, a search was done for a partner to operate the alcohol venue at the golf course. And the applicant came forward, and so we've gone through the process of doing the background check. There were no issues of concern at all. The one thing that we're hoping, as you remember, we did make a motion to add the FA Golf as an option to be a seasonal license, and we're hoping that change will help these operators at the golf courses to be a little bit more profitable, and so hopefully that will kind of take care of that, and we won't see an annual changeover of operators. But no concerns on this background check.
So if you don't, first of all, can you correct my pronunciation of that?
No, I cannot.
You cannot? Okay. The other question I have, can you kind of review for us the changes that were made to hopefully help with these seasonal licenses? Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so we have we only have one license right now that's issued seasonally, and that's the license at the Newman Redhawks Stadium. And that one is issued basically for the baseball season. So our seasonal license, the ordinance says that it can be issued, but for no fewer than 6 months. And so even though the Redhawks probably operate for 4 to 5 months at a time, they have to pay for a 6-month license. In this case, with the golf courses, there's an opportunity, probably we're not golfing in March this year, obviously. But there are years where we might be golfing in March, and maybe golfing in November. But maybe if we take those winter months off, then maybe instead of being a drain of their income during the winter months, they can make money on the golf side of it. So
would you basically say, that hopefully it saves them some money because of the off months, they don't have to pay some type of fee. But from our perspective, they still, when they're open, they have to do the same thing as every other license holder. You have to have server training and everybody has to be trained, correct?
That's absolutely correct. Okay. Yep. They just like any licensee, they have to follow all the rules, regulations that are in place. I just hope that by not having to keep the buildings open, the heat on, pay the staff and all that stuff when you don't have income coming in, it's just hopefully that just by operating when the golf season is operating, they'll be able to actually make it so that it's a profitable business.
Very good. Any other comments or questions?
Well, I guess my only question would be that, is that the entire Rose Creek, bar restaurant area that they'll be operating out of?
It is. So basically, if they choose to operate seasonally, I may be kind of mixing what I've heard from some of the other operators out at Osgood and at Edgewood, but they would be choosing to basically shut their business down for the winter. If somebody wanted to have a wedding dance or something like that in January out at Rose Creek, they wouldn't be able to use this license because they hadn't paid for it.
Okay,
So
that's my question. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
If there aren't any other comments or questions, we would accept a motion.
Motion to approve?
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 2B, Spaghetti Western LLC, doing business as Spaghetti Western, to be located at 524 Broadway, Class GH. Steve?
So the Class GH is beer and wine. It's served at a table or booth. There's no bar involved. And the food sales have to exceed the alcohol sales. The location of this is, well, for me, I think of Josie's, right? So Josie's Cafe that was there forever. And that's right up kind of across from the churches up there. In the background check, it was self-reported, a DUI in 2010. So it's out in California. And other than that, there were no other concerns, or even the DUI from so long ago is not a concern.
Very good. Do we have any comments or questions? I guess one of the things we're concerned about is the number of liquor licenses we have within about 5 blocks. And obviously, this is a restaurant, so it's just a different situation. But I guess that's like one of the comments. I don't know if anybody else has any questions about it. Okay, go ahead.
Are the owners here? Okay, can I ask what your hours will be?
We'll have you go to the,
To the mic.
up
If
to
you
the
don't
microphone.
mind, just introduce yourselves and speak to the mic, just so people that aren't here can hear your response.
Hi, I'm Bridget McGuire, my husband Fabrizio Di Gianni, and we're opening an Italian restaurant. He's from Northern Italy. I currently work on Broadway as a manager at Rosewild in Jasper Hotel, so I am familiar with the area. And
Okay,
About the hours, it's gonna be noon till 8
Okay.
during winter months. In summer, maybe we'll extend the hours to 8:39,
okay,
possibly.
okay. Are you 7 days a week?
Once the whole team is gonna be together, at the beginning, it's gonna be probably me and her. We're gonna need a day off.
Okay, okay. But you think you'll be closed at 8:30?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And Steve, can you just talk a GH license, what that entails?
Yep, it's just beer and wine, service only at a table or booth, no bar allowed, and then food sales have to exceed alcohol sales.
Okay.
So this is kind of the classic fit for the GH license. Yeah.
I'd make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item up is the Police Department monthly report, the general report. Chief.
Good afternoon, everyone. A couple things on the report. You'll see a lot of District 64 and allegations of underage people being inside the premises. And we actually, myself, Commissioner Pepcorn, and Steve had a very productive meeting with the owners at District 64 1 or 2 weeks ago about many of these issues. And they were able to show us through video that actually some of the folks who purported to get in without IDs actually came through on their video showing fake IDs, but didn't want to tell us that. So I think the ownership there was very responsive to that whole discussion. We had suggested that one of the issues we identified was that they didn't have their scanner at the door. So they had a kind of a gap there, and they were going to get a second scanner, put it at the door at all times. But I think overall, they actually run a pretty good operation. They are wanding people as they come through. They're able to show us when they identify someone with some kind of the wand goes off. They don't do pat downs, of course. They move them. There's a second door. They will basically push them right out that second door, and they're done. They're not coming back in. And they have a really nice setup inside of there. So I think overall we were pretty impressed with the operation. A couple of discussion pieces, and most of this information didn't really pan out as we were told from some of the people who actually were getting in with fake IDs. So we'll continue working on that particular issue. I appreciate pushing off our windbreak discussion until the next meeting. There's a lot of kind of labor-intensive data pulls that we have to do to really vet through that information and have something good to present to you for that discussion. And absent that, unless you have other questions on the general report, I don't have anything else.
Do you have any other, go ahead,
I
Kay.
have a question. Chief, how about the overcapacity issue with District 64?
Sure. So well, they actually have a counter, and so we could check. But I've discussed this with the city attorney. Right now, the fire marshal is the only one with enforcement action, but she has made a note. One of the things we may want to pursue is to broaden that enforcement activity to the police. And but these folks actually count as they come in and count as they go out. So I'm sure if we walked in there and asked to see their number, as long as we knew what the capacity was. But that has to be, I believe that would require an ordinance change.
I was also impressed with the number of security cameras. They have a pretty good security system. like
Very
you
good
said.
system, yeah.
And I think they were much more receptive, and so it was a good meeting and productive, and I think communication was going to improve after that meeting, I believe, and so it was good. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, likewise, it went well.
Any other questions? And I guess, so just to reiterate, so the windbreak was on the agenda, but then we'll just continue that till the next meeting. And actually, Bob, one of our members, has spoken with them as well too, and so we'll be able to talk about that at our next meeting, if that's okay with everybody else. Very good. Thank you, Chief. Okay, are we ready to move on? Other items. 4A was John Vanette would like to talk, and he's apparently not going to do that. Steve?
Yeah, so John Vanette, back in 2010, came to the city requesting to have a pedal pub. And what it came down to, and I apologize for not having a crystal clear memory from back then, but Nancy was able to find some correspondence between our attorneys and their attorneys. And really what it came down to was that it's not allowed in state law, and so there's a difference of opinion there, but that's kind of what it came down to. And since the idea of the, pedaling tours or pedal pub has been approved, in concept here and at the city commission, it's now in Nancy's hands to draft ordinances. And so what John really wants to do is to be at the table to, have input on what those ordinances look like. And so he wanted to come here and speak. And then when I told him that we would invite him to those, meetings to have input on the ordinance, he was fine with that.
So I was on the liquor control at that time as well, and it was a completely different circumstance. And they wanted a liquor license. And I will say that I don't know if you recall any of that, anybody here, but that thing, he wanted me to ride on it, and I felt less than safe. It was a little different situation, and so I think it's great to have his input, but it's really different. It was a homemade thing. Anyway, I won't go on to it, but he brought it to tailgating. And then he wanted me to ride on it, and I said, that just doesn't seem like a very good idea. So anyway, that's my side of the story, Steve. But it was a different circumstance, even though he makes it sound like they're the same. It is quite different.
Well, the interesting thing too in all of this is that the legislation change that would allow this, or make this a legal activity, was initiated by I don't know if they're senators or representatives, but somebody from the Grand Forks area. And so we kind of found out about it secondhand that was going through the legislature. So.
And the other thing is the hours are different. I mean, I'm very pleased about this. And also I like the perspective of doing tours, especially architectural in downtown. I think it can be a really, another additional thing for tourism and things like that. So it's a different perspective, but as long as you let him know that he has his opportunity, that's good. So thank you for doing that.
Yep.
Okay, so if it's okay, then we'll move on to 4B. Faux Delicious would like to discuss a compliance failure. Steve?
Yeah, so Henry is here from Faux Delicious. So what happened was, it's probably been 6 months or more ago, Faux Delicious failed a compliance check. And the server was Henry, and he's also the owner. And so, there's always two parts to those, right? There's the administrative penalty that you guys hear, whether or not we're going to maintain that administrative penalty, but there's also a civil penalty in which you go to the municipal court. So Henry went to municipal court, and the judge dismissed it, from the server side. And I think that he didn't understand that there were two aspects to it. And so I said, well, you know what, I'll give you a chance to come, even though it's been months ago, and you can explain, what happened, and we'll see what the board wants to do.
So go ahead, if you don't mind, use the microphone and then introduce yourself and go ahead.
My name is Henry Tang, the owner of Four Delicious. So, yeah, like Steve said, and I thought it's the same thing. I received the notices that I can appeal, and I went to court, and I thought it's the same thing. And at the end, I asked the judge that I have to pay the fine. He said no, and I assume it's all done. And I still receiving the statement. So basically, what happened was during the evening rush, there's a gentleman and a young girl came in and waiting for a table, and I sat them down. And then the high school kid took the order, and the high school kid doesn't have the server training, so he told me that he went to the kitchen and told me that table order a Bud Light, and it was busy, so our protocol, I check the ID unless I positively it's adult over 21. So I rushed to the refrigerator, the cooler, and brought out the Bud Light and sat in front of the gentleman that I assume he's ordered. So the high school kid took the order. So usually, cause in a restaurant, the customer order drinks first after the food, and I thought the adult and the kid. So of course the beer was intended for adult. So I went back to the kitchen, and suddenly they call me back out. Hey, throw down ticket, and that's all I know. So it was we follow the protocol very strictly, but that incident, I assume the bill was for the adult. So I'm a request to the fine to be dismissed.
Can I ask Steve, so what was the fine?
It's $500 for a first failure.
So that's, and especially for a smaller business like that. And I will say this kind of ties into when we met with District 64. So they were not IDing people when they come in the door. And so what happens is the underage people get in, and then someone else buys the alcohol, and then do you know what I mean? It isn't a direct purchase. And so that was I would say, if that makes sense to you, but that's kind of a similar situation where the adult appears to be the one consuming the alcohol, and that doesn't always happen. So I guess anybody that has any questions here. So can I ask you about how much, I mean, for $500 for your business, I'm guessing that's a pretty big impact.
Yes. I mean, and it's a very, very small, tiny restaurant, and then the beer sale is very, very low, and it's rarely anybody, customer come in with family. They usually have a beer for the adult, have a beer or two. So it's not really this.
So can
I was so positive that the beer was intended for the adult.
So can I ask Steve, have they had a good track record as far as having server training and things like that, as far as the business and keeping on top of their reporting to the city?
Yes, Henry does most of the serving, like he said. He has younger people that do the wait, their wait staff, but they come to Henry to say, we have someone that ordered a beer. So Henry has been server trained, and I mean, obviously, it's not an area that has been, causes a lot of over serving or anything like that. So
can I ask you, do you have any employees do they go to server training, or is it just you, or do you?
Yeah, just the like a high school kids do the serving. So I'm the cook, I'm the server, I'm pretty much I'm doing everything. It's just like a one-man band thing. So.
Go ahead, Kate.
So my question is how will you prevent this from happening in the future? When it
Also,
gets busy like that and you've
so-
got young kids that are taking the orders and come back to you and say they want a beer?
I told them that I will bring. So basically, from there on, when they order beer, if I bring the beer out, if I suspect it's underage or whatever, I will ID. So I personally do the ID instead of just drop the beer and go.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? So what are our options, Steve?
Well, so we either maintain the penalty as it was originally, established, or, you have the ability in the ordinance to waive the penalty. So I just need a motion either way.
I make a motion, we waive the penalty.
Okay,
I'll
thanks.
second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Very
Thank you
good.
so much. So it's all clean.
You're all clean.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
Don't do it again.
Very good. That's everything on the agenda. Steve, do you have anything else to add?
Nope, I appreciate Bob's hard work going out and meeting with the gentleman from the windbreak. It sounds like he broke down some barriers and made some good progress. So who knows, maybe, hopefully by the next meeting, we'll see some of those start getting established, some of those changes he was talking about.
Very good. That's it. Thank you, everybody. We are adjourned. Have a good afternoon.